presentation of HBO Sports.
For more than a decade, they ruled the middleweight divisions. At 160 pounds, Bernard Hopkins built a Hall of Fame legacy with 20 consecutive middleweight title defenses.
Hard right hand by Hopkins. Set it up perfectly with the left. The executioner at work.
Just 8 pounds north, but an ocean apart, Welshman Joe Calzaghe ruled the super middleweight division with his own decade of dominance.
Look at the hand speed. Another non-stop Calzaghe barrage.
But while Hopkins starred in some of the sport's biggest events, boxing's Prince of Wales stayed home, waiting for the right fight to take his perfect record abroad. After Hopkins' middleweight reign came to a close in 2005, he moved up to light heavyweight, scoring an emphatic victory over then divisional kingpin Antonio Tarver.
What a performance by Hopkins.
Meanwhile, against Denmark's Mikkel Kessler, Calzaghe proved everything he could ever prove at super middleweight.
There's nobody else in the world exactly like Joe Calzaghe.
And at the height of his popularity, found the perfect reason finally to cross the Atlantic.
I would never let a white boy beat me. I would never let a white boy beat me.
Tonight, Calzaghe follows Hopkins to light heavyweight, seeking to secure his legacy by defeating a legend.
He's in for the shock of his life, 100%. And I just cannot wait to get in that ring and shut him up.
I must win, and I must win big, and I must punish him to be able to look in everybody in their face and say, I told you so.
It's Bernard Hopkins versus Joe Calzaghe on World Championship Boxing next. Welcome to another edition of HBO's World Championship Boxing, coming to you live from just off the Strip in Las Vegas, Nevada, where tonight worlds collide in the light heavyweight division as undefeated Welshman Joe Calzaghe, fighting for the first time on American soil, takes on Bernard the Executioner Hopkins in what projects to be a fascinating matchup of surefire future Hall of Fame fighters. A beautiful night in Las Vegas and a relatively healthy crowd here in the Thomas and Mack Center, although they are still filing in, perhaps from a last-minute refreshment out in the outer hallway. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Lampley. Welcome to World Championship Boxing, where we are tremendously proud and excited to bring you this must-see event between two of the biggest names in boxing, two guys who, despite their relatively advanced ages, still generally rank on the top 5 of the most creditable pound-for-pound lists in the sport. Joe Calzaghe against Bernard Hopkins in a fight that essentially had to happen. Working with me, as always, HBO boxing analyst Max Kellerman. Max, we know who they are. What's the significance of this fight?
Well, I mean, this is the winner's bracket. This is the finals. The winner of this fight will have proven that they're the best fighter, 175 pounds and south, in all of boxing. But Bernard Hopkins has reached a rarefied position in the sport, I think, once held by Muhammad Ali, where the question going into Hopkins fights is not like it is for every other fighter in the world. Can they excite? Can they titillate? Can they compel us to watch? With Hopkins, it's simply, can he figure out a way, this old legend, to overcome the unstoppable force in front of him? In this case, Joe Calzaghe. How unstoppable is Joe Calzaghe? What's on the line for him tonight? A win here, and maybe he's the greatest European fighter in history, the greatest super middleweight in history. And Jim, should Floyd Mayweather be upset by Oscar De La Hoya, the winner of this fight will be considered by most the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
Fascinating, and Calzaghe's in very small company, Max, in being able to remember the name of the last guy to beat him 18 years ago in an amateur fight. He's never lost as a professional, but Emmanuel Stewart, much has been made in the build-up to this about Calzaghe's never previously having appeared in the United States. Is it fair to say that he still has something to prove by coming to the United States to try to beat an American fighter on American soil?
I think that's true, Jeff. You know, even though he's had a lot of success in Europe, he really has become only popular in America with his last two fights, Mikhail Kessler and the Jeff Lacey fight. So he's still not that known and recognized and respected in America. And it's the one thing that I learned from the Klitschko brothers when I first got involved with them. They said that Max Smelling told them, if you're really going to be accepted as really a true solid fighter, you must go to America and be successful. Thus far, we've had Nassim Hamed, who only had normal success over here, and even the great following we had with Ricky Hatton. When he had his first significant fight, he fell short with all of the fans that he had here. Lennox Lewis thus far has been the only fighter from Europe that has came over here and established and be respected as a great fighter. Calzaghe is doing it, and he's doing it with one of the best fighters in the world.
Indeed, Calzaghe, of course, as you already know, first met Bernard Hopkins on that weekend when Ricky Hatton suffered his first loss 5 months ago to Floyd Mayweather in this city. Now Calzaghe leaves what has literally been for him a cocoon, a charmed life in the bucolic surroundings of Newbridge in Wales. Far different from what he faces here in Las Vegas.
And we leave it to the last minute, we do. Have you noticed? We start packing 24 minutes before, not 24 hours.
It's the first time he's ever done this, taking his son out of the friendly confines of Newbridge, Wales before a fight. But as Joe Calzaghe's father and trainer Enzo makes a final visit to the gym to pack for Las Vegas, he doesn't appear too concerned.
But you've got to have, first of all, the gloves. Okay, where's that list? The gloves, the protector. Head guards, you've got the head guards, yeah, we just put it in. He loves his old gloves for sparring. He's had these for 12 years. It's amazing. As you can see it, like 12 years. It's amazing. These are the only ones he ever wears. We'll be focusing basically on the event. On Thomas Mack, 19th of April, that's the only thing that's in their mind. Viva Las Vegas.
Later in the day, son Joe is himself in the midst of running several last-minute errands.
Yeah, I got to leave early in the morning. I think the flight's 10:15, so I think we got a car picking me up about 5:45. It's not too bad. It's about a 3-hour drive to Gatwick, to the airport. This is all a new thing for me, but you know, 36 years old, finally making my American debut after all these years, 11th year as a champion, so finally being where I want to be, you know, a big stage.
Undefeated in 44 professional fights, title holder for more than a decade, Joe Calzaghe is one of Britain's most popular athletes, and back in Newbridge, he's almost like a god.
He's a local boy who's come up through the junior ranks and everything, got to the top and never changed. There's not a mark on him, and still like a film star.
Here comes Calzaghe.
Joe Calzaghe, sensational.
They can see that Joe is just the same Joe Calzaghe that grew up in that community and hasn't changed in any way, but they can take a lot of pride in the fact that he has achieved a lot.
Joe, good luck. I know you can do it, and I'm sorry I won't be there to give you your supper.
Calzaghe begins to hammer it home.
I think Joe Calzaghe is one of these fighters. He's just a phenomenal fighter. He's a phenomenon. He's a winner.
Knowing his tremendous Welsh fan base will be able only to cheer from afar, Calzaghe embarks on his journey, carrying with his fists the hopes of an entire country.
Go Vegas.
I think it's important for Joe Calzaghe's career that finally he has come over to America to fight. That's been missing, whether he actually wanted to own up to that or not. More and more he realized that in order to get that kind of same definition over here that he has back in the UK, he's got to perform in front of American fight fans.
totally different climate, totally different time zone, where you're not the home fighter. So then you're outside your comfort zone. I'd have no problem with that challenge. That's why I'm over here. I'm the super middleweight champion of the world. I don't need to come here. I can put a lot of people, as you know, in the stadium. But this is where I challenge myself. You know, one thing, this fight is ice on the cake for me.
This would not be the kind of choice in terms of, I want to go to Vegas to have my name up in lights. He's made a choice to come out here to show American fight fans and commentators in particular what he can do, how good he is.
Much has been made of Calzaghe coming to America. Many say a victory over Bernard Hopkins is necessary to cement his legacy. But for Calzaghe, it's leaving the sport with a perfect record that's most important.
Hey, listen, I'm undefeated, and I want to stay undefeated. I don't want to retire undefeated. I want to be like the very, very few fighters, Rocky Marciano, few fighters that, you know, all the great fighters, they get beat. But I'm kind of so close to doing something that, you know, it's very, very rare, and that's retiring undefeated.
Welcome back live to ringside in Las Vegas, and one of the things you were observing right at the end of that feature piece is Joe Calzaghe's trademark hand speed, combinations thrown with lightning, blazing speed. Emmanuel Stewart, Bernard Hopkins had a 12-year win streak before his 2 losses to Jermaine Taylor in 2005, and in winning those 2 very close decisions here in Las Vegas, Taylor essentially was given credit for out-hustling Hopkins for winning with his speed and athleticism. Could we be looking at the same thing here tonight?
Yes, we could. That is probably the reason that Calzaghe has remained 2, 3, 4 to 1 favorite continually throughout the betting for this fight, because in the past he's had problems beating Bernard with fighters with speed. Roy Jones, and even with the fast jab and fast left hand of Jermaine Taylor, he's always had problems with guys who were big guys who had speed, and that's what Calzaghe has. But I think in this fight here, Bernard is going to be physical. I think Bernard is going to come in the ring about 10 pounds of natural strength bigger, and he's going to try to be really physical and try to get Calzaghe out of his rhythm.
One common element also is that Hopkins achieved no great mental mastery over Jermaine Taylor and Roy Jones, and he's been working overtime for the past several months to try to play mind games with Joe Calzaghe, beginning, of course, Max, with the never-to-be-forgotten white boy comment. What has been, in your view, the effect of all of Hopkins' machinations to try to get into Calzaghe's head?
Well, we'll see, but I suspect not much. Both guys are extremely confident. You don't reign over weight divisions for better than a decade. In both cases here, they did that without being very confident. Both guys have told me that they think that they do everything better than the other guy. But about that white boy comment, one of the interesting things about this fight is that it turns racial stereotypes on their head. The idea behind Hopkins' comment is that the stereotype of a white fighter is that they lack the athleticism and the improvisational, spontaneous, jazz-like ability to kind of extemporaneously make adjustments on the fly. Therefore, the white fighter had to be tougher and outthink his black opponent. Here, it is exactly the opposite. If Bernard Hopkins, the black fighter, hopes to overcome Joe Calzaghe here, he's going to have to out-tough him and out-think him, something that Hopkins has been able to do to virtually everyone he's ever faced. But Joe Calzaghe is also very tough and very smart. And if Hopkins at 43 can't do it, he will indeed lose to a white boy.
Well, but Hopkins has been out-toughing and out-thinking society, the boxing establishment, and his opponents ever since emerging from a 4.5-year stint in prison in his early 20s, and he is not intending to stop anytime soon, even at age 43. He believes nobody masters the mind game like him.
I would never let a white boy beat me. I would never let a white boy beat me. I would never let a white boy beat me.
From the late 19th century moment when John L. Sullivan first declared he could lick any son of a bitch alive, intimidation has been a part of boxing. It's come in many forms. The baleful stare of Sonny Liston, the machismo of Roberto Duran, the menace of Mike Tyson, and of course the most famous practitioner was the greatest, Muhammad Ali, who turned his mouth into one of his biggest weapons.
I can't beat me. I had a 180 amateur fight, 2 professional fights, and I'm good as a girl.
Ali was great at that. He got under your skins by talking to you nonstop. So by the time fight time came around, you just messed up mentally. You want to kill this guy. And once you get mad in a fight, you lose all sense of your game plan.
Sugar Ray Leonard learned that lesson in a painful way when he met Roberto Duran in 1980. Duran's relentless taunts in the lead-up to the fight paved the way for Leonard's first professional defeat.
Duran got into my head. He did everything to insult me, insult my family, my wife, my kids. I took it personal. I wanted to get him back so bad that I selected to fight him and try to beat him at his own game by standing toe-to-toe. The psychological warfare plays a major role in a guy's performance.
Today, no one plays boxing's game of mental warfare better than the executioner, Bernard Hopkins.
And I can go in that ring and mentally tell a guy why he won't beat me. And that is my ace. That is my leverage.
For Hopkins, the mind games begin long before the opening bell rings.
Everything he does, every insult, every utterance, every comment.
I'm gonna kick his British ass come April 19th.
Every shove at a weigh-in is planned out in his head to try and get into the other guy's head.
Bernard knows how to play the mind game. And when he gets into your skin, it's for a reason. It's to get you out of your game plan totally.
Last December, Joe Calzaghe met Bernard Hopkins for the first time at the Mayweather-Hatton weigh-in. Hopkins wasted little time getting acquainted.
I would never let a white boy beat me.
What are you gonna lose? If you fight, you will lose. If you fight me, you will lose.
I'll never let a white boy beat me.
You will lose, man.
And you can call it any statement you want. Anybody can print that. I would never lose to a white person.
Hopkins was widely criticized for his racially based comments, but to those familiar with him, it was simply Hopkins being Hopkins.
He's just Bernard. He's not a racist, otherwise he wouldn't have me in his corner, I don't think.
And sure enough, shortly after their face-off, a fight deal with Calzaghe was signed.
Trust me, it was premeditated, thought out, planned, plotted, and delivered.
It's crossing the line, although Bernard has never even acknowledged that there is a line.
If there is a line, Hopkins no doubt crossed it in the lead-up to his 2001 bout with Felix Trinidad, throwing the Puerto Rican flag to the ground at 2 press conferences, the second in front of 5,000 fans in San Juan.
Bernard had to run out there along with his team, and they were lucky to escape with the shirt off their back, and what he left behind was total chaos.
The whole psychological aspect.
Everyone is entitled to what you call the last meal. Rice and beans.
The fact that he continued to wear a bandana that had war on it, even though the fight was delayed because of 9/11, everything in many ways, I think, about that fight crystallized Bernard Hopkins.
Hopkins' knockout of Trinidad became the signature performance of his career, a fight which bore plenty in common with tonight's showdown against Calzaghe.
Trinidad is somebody who'd always been trained by his father, just like Joe Calzaghe, always trains at home in Puerto Rico the way Joe Calzaghe trains at home in Wales. Suddenly, Trinidad's home is total chaos. When Bernard Hopkins made that statement about, "I'll never be beat by a white boy," he was hoping to create the same sort of situation for Joe Calzaghe in Wales.
Hopkins is the sort of guy that I really want to beat up. You know, with his big mouth and his bad attitude, and you know, he's sort of something I don't really like.
Joe probably wants revenge. He's angry. He wants me. He's gonna try to keep his cool, calm, and collected. But in back of his mind, he wants Bernard Hopkins to eat his words.
He's gonna try and make me fight his fight. That's his plan. He thinks he's clever than me. We're gonna see come fight night.
What I do know is what I said. I must win, and I must win big, and I must punish him to be able to look in everybody in their face and say, "I told you so," and leave the issue and the comment and the answers alone. Winning is everything. It's the only thing. It's survival to the finish.
Calzaghe's ultimate answer to the white boy comment was pretty good. He said, "I don't want to lose to a white boy either, or a green boy, or a brown boy, or a red boy, or whatever other color they want to bring to me." And we have celebrities at ringside tonight of all colors and stripes, beginning with Whitney Houston. Nearby, Catherine Zeta-Jones. Not too far away, Simon Cowell. Planet Hollywood Hotel is sponsoring the event. Sylvester Stallone is a primary owner of the hotel. His buddy Arnold Schwarzenegger, governor of California. The newly married Jay-Z. Not far away from him, Jim Belushi. And tennis superstar Pete Sampras. Michael J. Fox and a variety of others also in the crowd tonight. Now let's begin the pageantry that will lead up to this big event with ring announcer Michael Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, and now for the first of two national anthems. Here to sing the national anthem of Wales, a Welshman and a true legend the world over, Sir Tom Jones.
Are we working? It's on? Great. Are you ready? Here we go. My in blood burn harder and unholy me, Ross Rabbit and Torion and Wagion Ovry. I good all Ravel with glad God with Tramad, Dross Ravid, Coslas and Igua. Glad, glad, Bladion Oivin glad, Tramo and Vid, in be Rosbad, oh blooded,
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here to sing the national anthem for the United States, to be performed by an artist with the #1 R&B album, knockout recording star. Please welcome Ray J.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Tale of the tape for Bernard Hopkins against Joe Calzaghe. Hopkins at 43 years old, still near the top of the sport. George Foreman achieved that in his second career. Archie Moore achieved that. Practically nobody else in the history of boxing. Calzaghe with a 7-year age advantage, 1-inch height advantage for the Philadelphia fighter Hopkins, an arm length advantage of 1 inch measured from the armpit to the end of the fist for the Welshman. And they both weighed in 2 pounds under the 175-pound limit. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Bernard Hopkins-Joe Calzaghe fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight. In case it is caused by an accidental headbutt, we go to the scorecards if the 4 rounds have been completed, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
There are plenty of Welshmen in town. Some of them, of course, transplanted Welsh who have been entertainers in the United States, like Tom Jones and Catherine Zeta-Jones. But Calzaghe does not bring the kind of fanatical, song-singing, 24-hour-a-day drinking following that we saw with Ricky Hatton against Floyd Mayweather in December. Max, I think to a large degree it's because he's simply a more private person than Hatton.
Well, it's also a ridiculous standard that Hatton set, bringing 10 to 20,000 people halfway around the world. Calzaghe brought several thousand people halfway around the world, and should he win tonight, the magnitude of his star will obviously increase.
Throughout his career, Emanuel Stewart trained by one man, his father, Enzo Calzaghe. You wouldn't have predicted at the beginning that a jazz musician could be a terrific boxing trainer, but it's difficult to find fault with anything they've done.
It's an unusual situation where this probably will be his only fight of maybe in history as a time goes on. But for whatever reason, the chemistry between them as father-son and as a trainer has worked. And sometimes you cannot explain it, and especially when you look at the other corner and see all of those celebrity stars and over there as trainers, but still they've been very effective with that system.
Two tremendous performances in the last few years coming in. He undressed American Jeff Lacey in a situation where Lacey was a heavy betting favorite, and he thoroughly vanquished Mikkel Kessler in a fight in which many ringsiders had picked the unbeaten Dane, who seemed to have sounder technique and more power. Calzaghe stared them both down and never stopped his constant flow of rhythmic punching.
Speaking of those, in both of those fights, I had picked the other two opponents to beat Calzaghe in both. So you know I have much respect for him.
I picked Antonio Tarver and Winky Wright to beat Bernard Hopkins and was wrong in both of those instances. And Hopkins is an underdog once again tonight. Although late money on Hopkins has reduced the odds, favoring Calzaghe to less than 2-1. Perhaps an acknowledgement of Hopkins' proven mastery in situations where he's the underdog.
Bernard has been very successful and is very comfortable in situations where he is the underdog, where he's booted. That's where he's performed. As a matter of fact, I can't even remember a fight too much where he was a favorite in a big super fight. But he performs very well under those conditions.
It takes tremendous will, Max Kellerman, for a fighter to resist the urge to entertain the crowd and stick with a style which is essentially highly technical and not crowd-pleasing. Bernard has never wavered.
No, and what Bernard is, and this has been said before, is essentially a negative force in the sense that he negates what his opponent is trying to do, but let's not overlook the fact that he knocked out guys like Felix Trinidad, which meant he had to be landing punches somewhere along the way, especially body punches, and that's something he's going to feature tonight.
You know, as Calzaghe said when we spoke to him, he says basically the biggest signature figures on Bernard's record has been with what he considered junior middleweights, mainly guys like Oscar De La Hoya and Felix Trinidad. Tonight, Bernard is fighting a big guy. Therefore, Calzaghe feels that he has that advantage, even though they both weigh 173. But I am suspicious that Bernard is physically bigger than him, as you pointed out, Jim, when we had the meeting.
He certainly appears in the meeting to be the bigger, stronger guy. Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, by way of Planet Hollywood, Resort Casino of Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. Welcome to the Thomas and Mack Center, UNLV. Tonight, Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions, Frank Warren Sports Network, and the Planet Hollywood Resort Casino of Las Vegas are proud to present the main event of the evening. Two future Hall of Famers in the ring to face each other in the moment the world has been waiting for. 12 rounds of boxing. This is a contest recognized by fight fans the world over and Ring Magazine for the linear and true light heavyweight championship of the world. Brought to you in association with HBO Sports and sponsored by Rockstar Energy Drink, party like a rock star, Affliction Clothing, and Southwest Airlines, the Spirit of Freedom. Sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Chairman John Bailey, Executive Director Keith Kaiser. At Ringside, the 3 judges scoring this bout on the 10-point system: Adelaide Bird, Chuck Jampa, and Ted Gimza. And inside the ring, the referee in charge of the action at the bell, Joe Fair but Firm Cortez. And now, for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, may the best man be victorious. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black with white officially, weighing in at 173 pounds. His professional record, a perfect one. 44 bouts, 44 victories, including 32 knockouts. He's the challenger, recognized by Ring Magazine as the universally legitimate, undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, the undefeated fighting pride of Newbridge, Wales, Joe Calzaghe. Fighting out of the red corner, wearing gray with red, official weight 173 pounds also. His professional record, an outstanding one. 48 victories, including 32 knockouts, with 4 defeats and 1 no decision. He's the former undisputed middleweight world champion, now in this division, the Ring Magazine title list as the true, linear, reigning, defending, light heavyweight champion of the world, the fighting pride of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA, Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins.
All right, gentlemen, we went over the rules in the dressing room. I expect a good, clean fight. I referee your fight, Bernard, in the past, no problem. Joe, I referee your fights in the past, no problems. I don't expect any problems tonight. I want a clean fight. Obey my commands at all times. Remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch him up.
If there's a fighter alive capable of handing Joe Calzaghe his first professional defeat, it's Bernard Hopkins. He certainly knows how to do it after having studied Calzaghe. The question is, at 43, can he physically implement what he knows how to do?
In the corner.
Watch out for headbutts. In 2 of Hopkins' last 4 fights, the opponent wound up with a cut as the result of a butt. And Hopkins acknowledges that he spent a good deal of time studying tape of Calzaghe's fight with Sakio Bika a year and a half ago, in which a headbutt cut clearly bothered Calzaghe. He called it the worst cut of his career.
And to point out just what you said, Hopkins made his first aggressive move. He ran in with his head down again, as you see right there. He looked like he's focusing as much on keeping his head down, whether it's for protection or to cause a butt as it is punching.
Calzaghe makes his first spirited forward rush of the fight, and they wind up tied together on the ropes. Cortez breaks them up.
And Calzaghe got the better of that head exchange as he seemed to bother Hopkins with his own head on the inside.
Well, Calzaghe, when asked what he would do about Hopkins' supposedly demonstrated penchant, right goes Calzaghe down on a perfect right-hand shot by Hopkins. And Joe Calzaghe's been down before, but never in a big fight.
No, Hopkins moved in like he was going to move into a clinching shot, a short, direct, point-to-point right hand.
What an embarrassment to Calzaghe, and already an extra point on the scorecard for Hopkins.
In Calzaghe's first big fight against Chris Eubank, he was also dropped early in the fight, got up and dominated Eubank in an excellent fight the rest of the way.
It was a long time ago.
And Chris Eubank ain't Bernard Hopkins.
Hopkins isn't exactly a knockout puncher, but he landed that right hand straight on the chin.
you have two fighters who are probably the two best adjustable fighters in boxing today. Calzaghe proved that in his last fight with Kessler, where he came back and turned the fight around, and Bernard does the same thing. So you're going to see a lot of adjustments in this fight as it goes on.
And already in round one, Calzaghe is showing tremendous respect for Hopkins' counter-punching skills. The Joe Calzaghe, who throws 70 to 80 punches per round, is nowhere evident so far, as his punch output is clearly being limited by his respect for Hopkins.
All right, go, bring on.
Momentary door-to-door skirmishes, spaced apart by periods of inactivity. That's a Bernard Hopkins fight, and that's what we're looking for so far in round one, or looking at so far in round one. One punch at a time for Calzaghe, not his game. And there's a trickle of blood on the nose of Calzaghe, right on the bridge of the nose. Perhaps the product of the right hand that dumped him on his shorts. What a great start for Hopkins in round one against Joe Calzaghe.
But outside of the knockdown, the round would have been even. Maybe Calzaghe would have won it.
So, the best of fighting fights. And the left hands are not working. You wouldn't know. You with me? Yeah. You know, for the left hand roll. So that's too much the leg. His leg, that's all you feel. Good. No problem. You didn't let him night. You let him make the line. You stand in front of him. Get it? All right. Nice round. Keep using those feints, head movement, and don't forget the body for me, okay? All right? Hey, very nice. What?
Here you see Bernard moving in as if he's going to go into a clinch and shoot a perfect pinpoint short right hand. Couldn't have been any better than that. And the fact that Calzaghe wasn't even expecting that, because from that shorter distance, it would have had much more effect than if it had been a long-range punch.
And any chance Calzaghe had of standing up was eliminated when Hopkins continued to proceed forward, and with their shoulders engaged, managed to go ahead and finish the knockdown by putting Calzaghe onto his trunks. Total punches in round one by CompuBox count. Hopkins only threw 16, landed 4. Calzaghe 7 out of 35. Again, those kinds of numbers reflect a Bernard Hopkins round.
Bernard wants to slow the fight down, fight in spots, and keep Calzaghe from getting in his rhythm, because Calzaghe is a rhythm fighter. If he goes on and gets into his rhythm later on, he still could turn this fight around. But right now, the fight is going just the way Bernard wants it to be.
You know, people talk a lot about Bernard Hopkins' work rate or lack thereof. But in preparation for the fight, no one has a better work rate. He trains as hard as anybody. And that's why he's able at the age of 43 to even go 12 good rounds with these great younger fighters.
And also Bernard probably, I don't think anybody I've ever known in boxing is more intelligent in studying films and analyzing every movement of the body and hands.
Meticulous preparation.
Unbelievable, not just physically, but also in preparation of studying and analyzing opponents.
Every time Calzaghe nears Hopkins, Bernard is reaching out and clutching him with the left arm. And he's managing to do it most of the time on the opposite side of Joe Cortez. Ricky Hatton complained long and loud about how Cortez refereed the Hatton-Mayweather fight in December. There were some British writers who felt as though Cortez didn't give Hatton a chance to do his thing.
Bring out. What's punch behind the head?
Well, Mayweather had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, and I think so far it's Hopkins who's keeping Calzaghe from doing his thing. And Bernard landed another straight right counterpunch. That's his best shot, and he's landed it again in this round. Calzaghe beginning to get a chance to let his hands go. It's still showing a lot of respect to Hopkins on the inside. You see the blood again trickling from the little cut on the bridge of Joe Calzaghe's nose.
Calzaghe seems to be getting his rhythm going a little bit here. He's a rhythm fighter. He's starting to punch, bob, and weave. He's making adjustments to Hopkins and making Bernard fight at a little faster pace than he wants to fight at.
Hey, keep like this up. All right, keep it up. Okay. All right.
Low blow by Calzaghe. Once again, Hopkins reaches that left arm out. Momentarily holds Calzaghe, then drops it as Cortez comes in.
All right, break. Let him out.
It's going to be a test of Joe Calzaghe's will to see if he can find a way to let his punches flow, as has been the case in his resounding victories in recent years. So far, it's hot and tech.
I believe he will. As the fight goes on, I see him getting into his rhythm now. Bernard is throwing one punch and lunging in with his head down at the same time, never trying to put together a series of combinations.
You're chanting him with hooks.
Immediately following this broadcast, countdown to De La Hoya Forbes, part of our Emmy-nominated countdown series. Then the live fight, Oscar De La Hoya against Steve Forbes, Saturday, May 3.
Sorry. Don't clinch. All right, don't worry about it.
Counter right away.
Punch it behind the head right now, okay, on the clinch, all right?
Water. Okay. Okay.
CompuBox numbers so far figure Calzaghe for having thrown 33 jabs and landed none. Obviously, if he's going to get that two-fisted rhythm going, he's going to have to start landing his jab at some point.
Yeah, both guys are very difficult to land clean punches on. Both of them are very good defensive fighters.
And now Calzaghe goes with the lead left hand down the middle and lands it. That may be a tactic that he would use to greater effect as time goes on.
Guys, I got to tell you, I think the majority of the effective punches have been landed by Hopkins, including in the last round. Bernard said going into this fight, he's not going to be able to beat me on flair. And I don't see Calzaghe beating Hopkins on flair so far.
All right, stop.
Hopkins getting in 3 right-hand body shots before Cortez pulled him apart. Bernard Hopkins is extremely adept at getting in subtle punishment when the two fighters are engaged in what might be called clinches, and it doesn't look like much is going on. Something is going on, like that.
Bernard's a very cagey guy, and one of his heroes is the famous middleweight from Philadelphia, Benny Briscoe, and he's, who kept his head down, which avoided from getting hit, made opponents hurt their hands, but also he's landing very short, accurate punches. Calzaghe is busy, but his punches are more of a slap. Bernard's are more crisp, more accurate, more body weight.
Calzaghe's game is to fight at a moderate distance. So far, Hopkins is making him fight either from great distance or in a phone booth, up close. Both of those situations are better for Hopkins.
Bernard is fighting the fight that he wants to fight. Calzaghe cannot fight the fight he wants to fight at this stage.
And that's saying something, because Calzaghe's always been able to impose his style on his opponent.
But still, as the fight goes on, I think he's going to step it up whether he wins or loses, because he's just that type of a guy. He makes great adjustment, and once he senses he may be losing the fight, he does become more intense.
Well, the first adjustment that appears necessary here is how to find a distance at which he can mount his offense without getting sucked into Bernard's vortex. And it seems to me that minute by minute, he's beginning to feel his way toward that. You see his hands flowing more rhythmically here in round 3. Calzaghe getting in hard left hands in the clinch, much as Hopkins has been able to do with right hands in the past. The crowd boos as Cortez warns Calzaghe. Body shots by Calzaghe. Hopkins drives him away with a counter right. Both fighters landed in that sequence.
Yeah, he's doing the pace you can't maintain after. Okay, can you keep it going, Joe? Yeah. How do you feel? It feels good, Joe. Going up. And load the left hand, start getting left, right, left. All right, double combination. Keep a tight guard, though. Huh? Keep it today, yeah, but you're getting too worried about the tight guard. That's what's catching you. It's catching you because you relax it, you throw the left. You have to be careful. Yeah. You have to be careful, Joe. Yeah, cool. You got to start stepping these rounds up. You start stepping up, a bit too cautious. You catch on the cautious, right?
Yeah.
When you hear me? All right, you just can't get away with one punch, okay? He's a sucker for the right hand. Come back to the left hook. Feint him, right hand, left hook. He's gonna work all night long, I promise you. All right? Let's go. Deep breath.
Freddie Roach is the head trainer in Hopkins' corner. He actually has 4 people on his staff, which might be called a kind of joint chiefs of staff arrangement. Trainer Mackie Shillstone, John David Jackson to talk about southpaw and defense, Nassim Richardson, who's been an assistant trainer throughout his career, and Freddie Roach. Harold, how do you have it through 3?
Okay, Jim, 2 rounds to 1, 29-27. Bernard Hopkins. You got to give him an extra point to round 1, just like you said, for the knockout. But Jim, I got to tell you, Bernard's got Joe Calzaghe fighting his fight. In other words, Hopkins' fight. Calzaghe rushes in, and Bernard hits him with a right hand. I thought Joe was busy enough to win round 2, but certainly in round 3, the Hopkins right hand was more effective. 2 rounds to 1, Hopkins.
Round 3 CompuBox numbers began to look the way Calzaghe would want them to look. But just because you have the numbers doesn't mean you won the round.
Big right hand from Hopkins.
Calzaghe looks bewildered at Hopkins' tactics.
Come here. Come here, come here. Come here, come here. I tell you, I don't want any rough tactics. I don't want to take any points or disqualify either one of you, understand? It's a clean fight. Let's go, time in.
You heard Freddie Roach tell Hopkins, right hand, or feint right hand, left hook. It'll work all night.
Bernard's most effective punch is and usually has always been back and back, and then throwing a right hand just like that with his head bent down at the same time. That's his most effective. He doesn't put a flow of combinations together, but he's very effective with that right hand.
All right, bring on.
Partially effective because you have to worry about the head and the right hand at the same time.
Absolutely.
Calzaghe dropping his hands. Trying to rush Hopkins the way he was so successfully able to do against Jeff Lacey of the United States a couple of years ago. Hopkins fighting off the ropes with his counter-punching accuracy.
Yeah, and it seems to me continuing to land the cleaner, more effective punches, although in this round not landing as many of them.
Stop. Let's go.
And I think my point about Hopkins being the bigger man is proven out as they stand and face each other in the ring. The one in tight advantage we knew about. But he's stronger in the upper body than Calzaghe.
Yeah, you know, when they had the weigh-in, which they request you to do, you don't have to do it, it's mandatory. When you come to the arena, I think they said Calzaghe weighed 181 tonight. Bernard refused to weigh in tonight for the second weigh-in.
Which is why we showed you no unofficial weights.
Watch your foot.
Southpaw against a conventional fighter. The lead feet will often get tangled up. And you heard Joe Cortez saying, watch your foot. Hopkins, for some reason, stands in a neutral corner to watch the round card girl come in, and then finally turns away to walk to his own corner.
Okay. Steve. This start using the things. He's dropping his head. Right up. Right? Move the other way. Move the other way, but you're reluctant to do any combinations. He doesn't mind them. What's that much to speak on? In between. Yeah, okay.
Here you see Bernard land a right hand, and as he usually does, he follows up, not with a left hook like he would. We use it with physical tactics, such as hitting it with his head or shoulders. But he's been successful with it in most of his career, and if he can get away with it, more power to him.
Then he hits Calzaghe from behind in the ear, and that's when Cortez pulled them together and had a discussion with them, saying he didn't want any roughhousing tactics. CompuBox numbers in the fourth round. Hopkins, 7 of 29. Calzaghe, 14 out of 51. So the numbers are beginning to favor Calzaghe in every round. But as Max Kellerman points out, the numbers don't necessarily reflect who lands the cleaner, more identifiable shots.
Well, at this stage now, Calzaghe seems to have gotten more comfortable with the rhythm and flow of the fight and is setting the tempo, and Bernard is losing his balance. He can't time Calzaghe as good as he would earlier, and he's the one that's getting off balance himself a little bit right here.
When Calzaghe drops his hands in front of his opponent and does that showboaty kind of stuff, it's generally an indication that he's feeling comfortable and ready to start really doing his thing. I'm surprised when he does that, Hopkins doesn't punch.
Don't hold the head down, man. Let's go. Let's go.
That time, Calzaghe very concertedly covering up inside to make sure Hopkins didn't land anything. More and more, Calzaghe is concentrating on trying to develop combat from the outside and avoiding it inside.
But you know, Jim, as you said, the more identifiable punches, whenever I see sweat flying, it's generally flying off of Calzaghe's face due to a clean shot from Hopkins.
Although Calzaghe landed a good striking left hand in that last exchange.
Indeed.
Let's go, let's fight.
Calzaghe seems much more relaxed now than in the first couple of rounds.
Well, he's pretty figured out that Bernard's biggest weapon is just simply that one short right hand lead that he throws when he pushes his head in. And beyond that, Bernard is not having a good flow of anything else.
Stop. All right, stop.
It's fascinating. Hopkins was quite vocal in saying, I have to win the fight in the middle of the ring. For the last 2 rounds, he has circled the ring with his back to the ropes constantly. Maybe he didn't mean that he had to win the fight in the middle of the ring. Or maybe he likes the way he's fighting off the ropes.
Well, he's been fighting very good, and the right hand that he knocked Calzaghe down was similar to the right hand he really knocked out, really, for the most part, Robert Allen.
All right, stop right there.
Now we see some deception in Hopkins' defense. He talked about before the fight the old Jersey Joe Walcott turning, making it look as though he's walking away, and then coming back with a quick right hand left hook. He's starting to take that Walcott posture, if not throw the punches.
Good right hand to the body by Hopkins there. Earlier, Calzaghe landed a good straight left hand to the body and the left upstairs. Calzaghe getting in more punches and a good left hand that clocks Hopkins before the bell. Hopkins felt the need to fight back after the bell.
I found the method of fighting. What? I just found the method of fighting now.
Later tonight, West Coast viewers can catch the latest installment of Real Sports, featuring an interview with presidential candidate Barack Obama on his love of basketball.
I can't imagine more fun than having a good pickup basketball game.
With Hillary Clinton, perhaps. East Coast viewers can see a replay of the show tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And April 29, it's a special live edition of Costas Now. Bob Costas leads a town hall-style discussion into the relationship between sports and media.
You need more than 1 2 shots. They show the combinations. When you do combinations, you can't handle your team. Okay? Combinations.
CompuBox numbers on power shots in round 5. Hopkins 10 out of 31, Calzaghe 11 out of 32. In other words, virtually even.
And Calzaghe gave his fans something to sing about that round, apparently, Jim.
Or maybe they just wanted to sing. It's become a repeating pattern of Calzaghe stalking Hopkins as Hopkins circles the ring with his back near the ropes and looks for counter-punching opportunities.
This could be a difficult fight to score because Calzaghe looks very comfortable. He's coming in, but he doesn't have any power. His punches are just a little flurries inside. Bernard lands the cleaner punches, but Bernard only would throw 1 punch and then smother you right away after that. So it can be a very rough fight to score.
Calzaghe is starting to make his left hand produce music upstairs. Landing more solidly, landing more consistently than in the first 2 rounds. Remember, in case you joined us late, there was a knockdown in round 1. Bernard Hopkins catching Joe Calzaghe in the middle of the face with a perfect right-hand counter shot and dumping him onto his butt.
Break out, please. Let's go.
Calzaghe is putting more pressure on Bernard than any fighter that I can recall in years. He's coming to him all the time, and Bernard is having problems trying to time him now. And I'm surprised that Calzaghe hasn't stepped back and shot a left uppercut when Bernard goes forward, because Bernard runs in with his head down every time.
Hard right-hand body shot by Hopkins amid a flurry by Calzaghe.
There certainly has been a momentum shift over the last couple rounds, where Calzaghe seems to be more effective and Bernard throwing even fewer punches than he did earlier. Although they're caught Calzaghe.
Good left-hand counter by Bernard there. Now Calzaghe is beginning to regain confidence in his jab. Couldn't land it early in the fight. Switched to throwing the straight left hand lead. Now follows up with the straight left hand and catches Hopkins against the ropes. Hopkins coming forward with his head while throwing a right-hand body shot.
One punch. He throws one punch and lunges forward with his head usually consistently.
Stop.
And I'm surprised Calzaghe is really not fighting a smart fight either. Even though he's competitive, he could easily, by moving and boxing in and out a little bit, he could fight a much smarter fight.
Now Calzaghe starts to get the kind of spirited combat he wants. Cortez throws Calzaghe to the floor, pulling him off.
Okay, listen with him. Okay, Bernard, I want a clean round. I don't want any rough tactics. I don't want to start taking any points. Give me a clean fight.
So this guy's still going behind the head, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're fucking good. You want to get this guy stopped? You want to stop him?
I want him for the same thing, no rough tactics. I want him for the same thing. I won't start taking any points from either one of you.
Now, I'm telling you now, do you want him to stop you? Or you want to stop him? That's the fucking way it's going to go. That's the way it's going to go. Are you with me now? Make your fucking up in the powder here, right? Right through the A's, and attack the fourth.
That's the most combative I've ever seen Enzo Calzaghe in dealing with his son. CompuBox averages through the 6th round. Hopkins averages 8 lands in 31 punches. Calzaghe averages 15 lands in 53 punches. Harold, how do you have it through 6?
Okay, Jim, the last 3 rounds, I thought Joe Calzaghe's aggressiveness and clean punching, he just won them all. Anyway, 4 rounds to 2. 57, 56, Joe Calzaghe. Now, there's only a 1-point difference because Hopkins has that extra point for the knockdown. But you know, Jim, in the last 3 rounds, Joe's coming in. He's really getting into his rhythm. He's using the right jab more, landed a lot of straight left hands. He's just landing more clean, effective shots. Hopkins lands an occasional right hand, but not much more. 4-2, Calzaghe.
Emmanuel, do you agree that Calzaghe is getting closer to fighting his fight?
Yeah, so he still could do a little bit more by making Bernard fall off balance, because Bernard fights with his head to the floor all of it. But I think Calzaghe, as I said, is getting into his rhythm now, much like he did with Mikel Castro. But you know, Bernard still is capable of scoring another knockdown somewhere the way he fights, and could even still make the decision even closer and more in his favor.
Emmanuel, you mentioned how hard this fight is to score. I think the 2nd and the 5th rounds could have gone either way. And those, you know, you have a lot of swing rounds, and it's difficult to come to a conclusion as to who won the fight.
You're right. I agree with you. It's a very difficult fight, especially the knockdown. And I think Bernard still is capable of scoring another knockdown.
Well, I think it's also possible that the 3rd round, which Harold Letterman gave to Hopkins, could conceivably have gone to Calzaghe, who was by far the busier fighter.
So 3 swing rounds, at least.
Exactly. But we expected that the rounds would be difficult to score. That was the case in both of Hopkins' fights with Jermaine Taylor.
No, and for those who would be critical of Hopkins' style here, I know Calzaghe's not a spring chicken, but this is a 43-year-old fighter that's ancient in boxing.
And you know, it's amazing too. I've never saw Bernard Hopkins ever decisively beaten, and I saw all of his fights virtually. including the fight to Roy Jones. He lost the decision, but he was never really beaten, and he didn't have much experience. And we saw the fights with Jermaine Taylor.
He's boxing's Greg Maddox. He's just an incredible, incredible athlete.
Amazing man.
Well, he spent 17 years fighting in the 160-pound weight class. And Emmanuel Stewart, you began to observe toward the end of his middleweight reign that maybe he would be better suited to move up in weight. He looked so spectacular in his first light heavyweight fight against Antonio Tarver that you were tempted to wonder, well, what might he have been if he had been a light heavyweight for 4 or 5 years prior to that?
He has been a light heavyweight. He was just always, without even in training, eating nothing but vegetables and, you know, running every day at 5 or 6 in the morning. He was always, and still he was very weak making 160. He's been a light heavyweight a long time.
Calzaghe scores a rally along the ropes. Hopkins felt a need to retaliate. The best way to make Bernard Hopkins fight offensively is to go hit it, as Calzaghe is doing.
That's what I was saying right there. Calzaghe almost was knocked down again, simply because of the way Bernard is letting him run in off balance.
How do you score that round?
I think Calzaghe should have won the round, but he almost lost a 2-point round.
Yeah. Okay, work the ace, okay? Yeah. He's feeling it now, Joyce, feeling it now, right? But you've got to start the ace, the 3-4 ace, 3 to 4 ace. You're throwing the big left hand but not landing anything. Right?
This guy's ready to be taken. You can start walking him down. You're the stronger man, okay?
Towel on my shoulders now.
Cold towel.
Here you see Calzaghe come in throwing his typical punches, really no power, more of an amateur type slapping punches, but they get points, and also leaving himself open for Bernard's punches. Bernard caught him with a short right hand right there.
I know Calzaghe
with his head down.
I know Calzaghe dominated that round, but that right hand almost put Calzaghe down.
Harold Letterman gave the round to Hopkins. So, you know, that underlines your point, Max. Power shots in round 7. Calzaghe landing 20 of 45, 10 in the last minute of the round. But Hopkins landed 12 of 32, and perhaps because of that hard right hand toward the end, Letterman gives the round to Hopkins, which evens the fight on his scorecard.
The real question you ask when scoring a round, or at least I ask myself, is who would I rather have been that round? I'd rather be the guy who's doing the damage.
I thought that Calzaghe won the round. I think the fact that he didn't go down and it was just one clean blow, I would still think he hustled. He hustled that round, I believe.
This is the challenge the judges are facing tonight.
And I suspect the judges agree with you, Emmanuel.
Bernard is very cagey still at all times, always looking for that one low punch.
Yeah, I almost had to laugh listening to Freddie Roach say to Bernard Hopkins, if you start walking this man down, you can knock him out. When's the last time we saw Bernard Hopkins try to walk somebody down? Segundo Mocado?
It's back when he's back to Antoine Edwards. I thought was his last really aggressive fight. Even when he beat Trinidad and Oscar, he patiently waited his time. He lost the early part of the fights then. He's always been patient since then.
Bring out.
Another 4-punch rally by Calzaghe, punctuated by a right-hand counterpunch from Hopkins. That shows you how quick Bernard can still be.
Yeah, and I like what the referee did. He didn't do anything. Let them both do one dirty punch apiece and leave them alone. But Calzaghe just slapping with his punches.
Trying to chop Hopkins down with a chopping left hand. There's a solid left from Calzaghe. Hopkins lands his right. Hopkins is an elusive target as you follow him into the corner.
Yeah, very, very, very cagey guy. Looked like to be in great shape too for his age.
Body movement, head movement, little steps left and right. He knows every trick to make himself difficult to hit. Sometimes Calzaghe wants to pull the trigger on a punch and just can't find Bernard.
But I tell you what, he's setting a tempo that Bernard is not that comfortable with.
Calzaghe constantly trying to apply pressure. trying to speed the tempo of the fight, trying to make the 43-year-old man fight, and now showboating around the ring.
You won it. If you carry this way, all right? You're boxing to your pace. You can't stick your pace. The guy's knackered. He's knackered. Yeah. He's throwing a left hand. You're throwing left on its own. On its own. You got part of the combination. Where's the fucking 4 C's gone? Yeah.
Yeah. On my head.
Bernard, when you're throwing the combinations, this guy can't handle you. All right? Now here, these rounds getting a little bit close. Okay, I want more combinations. You hear me? All right?
Here you see Calzaghe throwing punches. Right there is a case of just his time and his rhythm has came into play now, and it's being a big factor as the fight moves on now.
He shortened up his punches to try to make sure of landing against the elusive Hopkins. He's taking power off, but opting for accuracy, and it's beginning to pay off.
They said he's very, very adaptable at changing, adjusting to do whatever he has to do to win a fight.
CompuBox numbers in 8. Hopkins 15 out of 38. Calzaghe 22 out of 65, including 7 out of 28 jabs. That's the best Calzaghe has done with his jab in the entire fight. We're into the 9th round of a scheduled 12. And the urgency of the issue is portrayed in the way Enzo Calzaghe is trying to whip his horse into the stretch here.
But he's still out to be good straight left.
Good straight left hand by Calzaghe. Right on the button. More and more he's been able to target that punch. Jab lands for Calzaghe, and this time he blocks the right hand counter. That's been pretty rare. Hopkins gets in the right hand counter, but another little flurry by Calzaghe of these short punches which are designed to be accurate and land.
He's made his adjustment. His punches are shortened up as he comes into this. He said he adjusts his situation. I was surprised when he fought Jeff Lacey that he actually beat Lacey on the inside with uppercuts when he wanted to.
Calzaghe reminds me at this point of the hitter who shortens his swing against a knuckleball pitcher. He's trying to take the simplest, shortest cut possible to find the ball.
What he did there is what he should have been doing more in the fight. When Bernard starts coming forward, just merely pull back, because Bernard would lose his balance because he punches with his head down as he comes forward.
The difference in their approaches, as we mentioned earlier, Calzaghe is jazz, like his father, the jazz musician. It's improvisational. He figures it out as he goes along. Hopkins meticulously prepares his game plan.
And has an almost mathematical approach to trying to win.
And maybe that improvisational ability is what we're seeing here.
Hard right hand for Hopkins, but Joe was rolling with the punch.
And he's coming right back and not letting Bernard really take the play. He's still setting the tempo. And Bernard is having a time, trying to time and figure his rhythm out. And now he's just lunging forward now.
American judges tend to favor aggression fighters, fighters who come forward.
And especially in Las
definitively
Vegas.
here, that's Calzaghe.
And now for the first time this round, Calzaghe is landing the punches that are making the sweat fly.
Hold that head, Calzaghe.
Another straight left hand for Hopkins. Excuse me, for Calzaghe. As he stepped in. Hopkins' hands don't seem to have the same zip that they had in the first 6 rounds.
He's never been pressured like this. Nobody's ever pressured him in a fight. Trinidad, Oscar, always everybody respected him. This guy's pressuring him and mentally intimidating him too.
So double your combination. Double your combination. And the jab got land. Land the jab. He's got fuck all in there now, right? He's doing the same old pattern now. Rat-a-ta-ta, rat-a-ta-ta. Follow the ball. Square he goes rat-a-ta. Bring the big, spin him up and bring the uppercuts in. You listen to me, Joe. You listen to me, Dan. You won the next 4 rounds in big style. Big style. I think this guy's ready to be knocked out. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me.
Yeah, listen, well, let's tell him how to do it. Listen, now when you move your feet up to him and you're making him use his legs, you've got to punch with him, okay?
He's going away.
All right, now come on.
You understand?
Yeah,
He's letting you stopping you punching.
Come on, John.
Here you see Joe landing the punch that he's been landing very effectively as the fight goes on. Straight right hand, a left hand, and sometimes he changes up and loops it on the outside, which is causing problems for Bernard trying to figure out where the left hand is coming from.
Well, Max Kellerman talked about Calzaghe's improvisational quality. More and more as the fight has gone on, he has found answers for the riddle of Bernard Hopkins. CompuBox numbers in 9. Calzaghe 25 out of 61. His high number for landed punches in the fight. Hopkins 13 out of 41. Harold, how do you have it coming to the 10th?
86, 84, 6 rounds to 3. Joe Calzaghe. Jim, the last 2 rounds were incredibly easy rounds to score. I mean, you've been saying it's a tough round to score. Calzaghe, the aggressive guy, and Bernard throwing fewer and fewer punches.
And down goes Hopkins on a low blow. No point deduction so far.
You're up to 5 minutes.
Cortez is going to give him up to 5 minutes. It's the second time in the fight that Calzaghe has been ruled to have hit Hopkins with a low blow.
Accidental low blow. That was accidental.
Well, I think we can rest assured any more low blows and Calzaghe will be penalized. He pulls Calzaghe's head down.
Yep. That was not an intentional low blow by no means, and it really wasn't that bad anyway. The part on the cup where it hit was not that damaging, to me, at least my opinion.
I mean, if that caused that reaction from Hopkins, then maybe we're underrating Calzaghe's punching power the entire fight. That did not seem like a big punch that would cause this kind of a reaction.
I wonder if Hopkins is choosing to stop Calzaghe's flowing momentum here by taking as long as possible to recover.
That's not going to happen. Calzaghe's got his rhythm. He's wired up right now.
And now Calzaghe's playing to the crowd, walking back and forth in the ring with his hands out as if to say, come on.
And Hopkins, unlike almost every fighter that you see in this situation, is taking every second he can.
And grimacing as though he's still in pain. And limping as though he's having difficulty walking.
Refusing to be pressured into taking less than 5 minutes.
Is it an Oscar-winning performance, or did Calzaghe land a bomb? You don't often get nominated for an Academy Award for a movie that takes place in April.
That said, we did not take the punch.
That's true.
Maybe it was debilitating.
Guys.
Straight right hand by Hopkins. Jumping forward as he threw it. Calzaghe with his hands down around his waist. Hopkins elected to tackle him high.
He's got to watch Hopkins' right hand set at all time. He's very dangerous with that right hand lead.
Come on, Bernard. I want you muscling inside, man. You know rough tactics.
Suddenly the fight looks like it did in round 1.
They're both going shoulder to shoulder, head to head. If Calzaghe was smart, he would just really take a step back and make Hopkins lose his balance and then punch. But as long as he's meeting punch to punch, anyone could get butted or either one could get hit.
Well, it's not in Joe Calzaghe to simply make Bernard Hopkins come to him. He's a go-forward fighter, always has been.
Bring out, come on, let go. I will not take any points for a chance of holding any one of you.
Joe Cortez there explicitly stating, I'm not trying to take any points.
Stop right there.
And Hopkins gets in 2 low blows on Calzaghe on the opposite side away from Cortez. They weren't big shots.
No,
but they were reminders that he'll do whatever he has to do.
Calzaghe is taking big leaps forward where he can easily time him. He's getting a little careless as he's running in now.
Looks like Hopkins needed a breather. He took it, and he seems like he's better for it.
Absolutely. Seems a bit rejuvenated.
All right, stop. Stop.
This round may be on the table as we come to the last 10 seconds. And both guys let their hands go, but neither lands anything of major consequence.
Hi, boy. Tap. All right, B. That was you. Lorenz?
Not worry about your left hand. You're concerned defence only. You're boxing his style. Defence only first. You can use it many times. You can throw 5 or 6 and big on. Why are you putting 5 or 6 in? Where are they?
Okay.
Then you've been saying okay for the last 6 rounds.
Joe, you got one these 2 rounds big.
You're not doing it. You're not doing it. Your left hand is a slap.
Here you see the low blow. It was actually he was starting to punch in the proper area, but the fact he got his head pulled down is what caused the blow to actually go low. But it still didn't seem to be that damaging, and then that bad of area was it didn't come underneath the cup.
The largest number of punches ever landed against Bernard Hopkins in a prize fight. Roy Jones landed 206 blows by CompuBox count back in 1993. Coming to this round, Joe Calzaghe has landed 189 punches already on Bernard Hopkins. In all likelihood, it's going to finish the fight having landed more punches than anyone's ever landed against Hopkins in a CompuBox counted fight.
Heading into this fight, conventional wisdom was that Calzaghe, younger, faster, higher volume of punches, would outwork Bernard and win a close decision. And that's what it looks like it's on its way to being this fight. The question now is, can the great old fighter pull something out of his bag of tricks
Well,
and pull off the upset?
Calzaghe may help him by